There's a lot of panic right now. It can seem chaotic. We want to talk more about how we can make sure our financials don't panic and we're safe. So we have Tori Dunlap joining us now. Talk more about this, the founder of Her First 100K. Thank you for being with us today.
Happy to be back under not so fun circumstances, but important to talk about.
Yeah, but you're an expert on so much of this. So when everything does seem chaotic out there in the world, how do we make smart financial decisions?
Yeah, I think we've talked every single Monday I've been here about controlling what we can control, especially when so much of the world feels chaotic and feels stressful. One of the best things you can do is take your financial education seriously. So whether that's listening to my podcast or getting other resources, just committing to, okay, I'm going to do one thing that I can control, which is looking at my money, taking my financial education seriously.
And would that be step one for you, or are there further steps we can take?
Yeah, so I have a 3-step plan. So step one is knowing your numbers. I always give the example of we wouldn't drive a car if we didn't know how much gas was in it. We were just talking about gas prices, right? But like, if I'm getting in a car and trying to drive, but I don't know how much gas is in my car, I'm going to end up stranded on the side of the road at 2 in the morning without cell reception, right? And that's what happens. We think, oh, we're stressed about money, so I'm not going to look at it. It makes you more stressed, especially with everything else going on, to not have any sort of plan, to not know your numbers. So you need to know what's coming in and coming out. So that's step one.
That's a great baseline to have. So what is step two after you know your numbers?
Yeah, so step two is thinking about diversifying your income. So that can be a side hustle if you do have extra hours or some flexibility. But my favorite way to do this is opening what's called a high yield savings account. We have the recommendation on our website at herfirst100k.com. But a high yield savings account, they're FDIC insured. You can take your money out at any time. You can open one with just $1. And they're going to immediately earn you way more interest than you're earning at your normal bank. So it's almost like a secondary income. So if you lose your job or your hours get cut, something changes, you have another source of income to rely on.
Yeah, it's almost like that rainy day, little pot of money that you might need.
And that's step three. So you're right on top of it, is putting together an emergency fund. So in that high yield savings account, making sure you have something saved for emergencies. And we want it to be at least 3 months of living expenses, but just start with, if you only got $20 a month to save, set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your savings account, start building those savings. So again, you have something in the bank that again gives you that semblance of control.
Yeah, because it's important if you need something to pull it out of that.
Exactly.
Instead of getting into your investments or in your 401k. So I know there's a lot of chatter, especially on her Instagram. If you guys don't follow her on Instagram, highly recommend it. Just to see, and I know there's been a lot of conversations over, should I pull from my 401k or any of my, savings accounts that are more into the investments in retirement?
Yeah, I mean, we're especially seeing in response to the news in Iran of, should I pull my investments, because is the stock market going to freak out and panic? And I always say the only person who gets hurt riding a roller coaster is the person who tries to get off. So ultimately, we have to stick to the plan. We have to keep investing. We don't want the news to interrupt, the plans that we have to hopefully retire someday, to protect our own savings. So I'm not pulling my investments. I'm not changing my strategy. I don't lose money unless I sell. So I don't get off the roller coaster. I don't get hurt unless I get off the roller coaster.
Yeah, lots of tips on how to be smart and not to panic right now. Of course, watch what you can. That's always great tips, but take it with a grain of salt too.
Exactly. And do what you can, right?
Yes,
control what you can control.
Control what you can control. Love that. We could use that to a lot of parts of our lives too.
Exactly.
Tori, thank you. And remember, you can catch her every Monday right here at 4. If you have any questions that you want Tori to answer, you can text the word money to us, 206-448-4545. We'll share her answers right here on the air. And Tori, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.